Welcome to the Hope Natural Health Podcast. I'm Dr. Erin Ellis, your host. On this show, we discuss all things health, hormones, and happiness with a little side of this thing called life. Molly McNamee is an online fitness coach who specializes in chronic stress and pain relief. Her clients call her the moving therapist as she helps them heal their anxiety through movement. This is going to be a wonderful conversation today, so I'm super excited that you're here, Molly. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here too and to have this conversation with you.
Great. Well, first, I got to know, how did you become known as the moving therapist? Tell us a little bit more about your history and how you got into this.
Yeah, so it started as a bit of a joke, actually, with one of my personal training clients. This was like when I just got started because she pretty much used me as her therapist. Like in our sessions, she would just unload everything going on with her mentally. And so she was like, you should just, market yourself as a moving therapist because you're both my talk therapist and my exercise specialist. And I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. But then I went through this whole personal journey with my mental health and my physical health. I've been working in the fitness industry for 10 years. And when I first got started, it was all, the superficial things. Like I helped people just get in shape. Like I'll give you your abs for summer or, whatever catchy tagline. I probably used it at one point. So that's what I first got started doing. But then in 2018, I went through this whole personal journey that I can tell you a little bit about, but it helped me refocus my training into really mental health programming, your workouts for your mental health and for your anxiety. And the reason I made that shift is because in 2018, I kind of reached an all-time low with my own physical and mental health. So I'm someone who has always had high functioning anxiety, but in 2018, it just reached a peak. Like I was as anxious as you could possibly be. I was having 1 to 3 panic attacks every single day, like full blown panic attacks. Like I would wake up in the middle of the night with my heart racing, feeling hot, clammy, like feeling that staticky feeling that you can get when you have a panic attack. And I was having that happen to me every single day. And on top of that, I was also feeling my heart racing at random times throughout the day. So I could be, working with that same client, just standing there, talking her through how to do a specific stretch, and my heart would just, skyrocket. My heart rate would skyrocket. And that didn't make a lot of sense to me. And also at that time, my body was kind of out of control. I was extremely bloated every single day, which was frustrating because I was working out really hard. Again, my business was very superficial, which meant I needed to look good so that I could be a walking advertisement for my business. So I was working out hard, but I was bloated every single night, and my weight was also going up for some strange reason. So in 2018, I was not happy with what my body and mind was doing. And then in the spring of that same year, I went on a hiking trip and I smacked my head against a rock and got a concussion. And that's a big story for another day, but that was kind of the catalyst for the change in my business because after that concussion, I couldn't work out I probably got back into exercise a little too soon, but I couldn't work out at all for a few weeks. And then when I started exercising again, it had to look different. I couldn't do the heavy weightlifting and the high intensity cardio and running sprints like I used to do. Like it had to be less. I had to do low impact workouts. I had to do shorter workouts. I couldn't lift quite as heavy because if I tried to do what I was previously doing, I would just feel dizzy and nauseous. So it had to look different. And then after doing that for a couple weeks and then a couple months, I realized I'm not having panic attacks anymore. And I've lost weight and I'm maintaining my weight and I'm not bloated anymore. And I was like, what's going on here? This is interesting. And that was kind of my aha moment of, oh, wow, how I was exercising previously was so drastically influencing my mental and my physical health. So I really saw the extreme of how exercise can be really bad for your body if you're doing the wrong thing. And then I saw the other extreme of how healing exercise was for my mental health once I found something different to do. So once I realized that, I became Detective Molly, and I was like, why was this happening? And I discovered the workouts I was doing was keeping my sympathetic nervous system activated. So my body was stuck in fight or flight and my body was producing so much cortisol. And those high levels of cortisol were causing all of that bloating and anxiety and problems. So once I realized that, I burnt down my old business, and I really started focusing on helping people exercise for their stress and their stress hormones. And then once I started doing that, lots of clients then came to me and said, oh, wow, our workout program has really kind of healed my anxiety. You really are a moving therapist. So that was my long-winded way of saying that's how I have become known as that moving therapist.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's a great story. And it's so true. I talk to women every day in office because I help a lot of women with hormones and stress. And that is probably the underlying cause of a lot of their imbalances. And guess what they all use? I know you know the answer, but they all use exercise as a way to deal with their stress. And I ask them, you know, what kind of workouts they're doing. And then sometimes they feel like they need to go exercise more because they're gaining weight. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, exercise is great for us, but sometimes we need to dial back with the amount of exercise or the intensity of the exercise and focus on something else. And it's interesting you're saying this because we had a conversation 2 podcasts ago about how, you know, there's not one, you know, everybody says to exercise, but there's not one set universal path for everyone to take that's great for everyone. So this is going to be good about talking about this because hopefully the audience will learn like, oh, well, maybe my exercise is causing some of my symptoms because I'm just pushing myself so hard that it's causing more harm than good, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's interesting because any doctor or therapist will probably tell you to exercise if you have anxiety and say that it's a good thing to do because it is. But then a lot of people then think, okay, what am I seeing as exercise, like in social media and in traditional media? And it's quite intense exercises that are then not good for someone who's dealing with that. So yeah, that's a big message of mine too, is every body is different. So every exercise routine needs to also be specific to what your body needs.
Yeah. So from your experience and your expertise, like how can exercise cause too much cortisol and actually increase anxiety?
Yeah. So a couple of ways. And one way is people just exercising too much, right? Like every workout is going to stress your body out a little bit, which means it's going to cause your body to produce a little bit of cortisol. But if you're exercising a lot, that means your body is producing a lot of cortisol. And if you're already in a place where your hormones are a bit imbalanced or you have some underlying anxiety, that's then a pretty dangerous place to be in because your body's already kind of like towing that line of there's maybe some imbalances already going on here. And then you throw a lot of exercise on top of it. And it's like, okay, enough's enough. Now you're going to really see why I'm upset. So doing too much exercise can definitely affect your cortisol levels, and too intense of exercise as well. And I see this a lot with high intensity interval training. So HIIT is something that became very popular because of that, like post-workout burn, where it keeps your heart rate high for after you've finished the workout, and it helps you burn more calories. But what we don't realize is what that also does is it keeps your body producing cortisol after you have finished your workout. So you're not just burning more calories, you're also confusing your body and keeping it in a stressed out state for longer than it needs to be. Like our bodies can handle stress and stressful situations in small doses, and they're built for that. But when you're doing that prolonged exercise or exercise that gives you prolonged effects because of their intensity, then that is going to affect your cortisol levels.
In your opinion, what is too much exercise?
I honestly live by 30 minutes is enough. Like your workouts do not need to be an hour. That is so unnecessary. So I say 30 minutes is enough. And for people who have underlying levels of anxiety or hormonal imbalances, I really say don't do more than 40 minutes. I think that more than that is too much in my experience. And again, every body is different. So you may find like a 1 hour yoga class like is still great for you. It kind of depends what that exercise is. But if you're doing, you know, you're feeling your muscles, you're getting your heart rate up, you're doing kind of a traditional workout where maybe you're lifting weights, maybe you're doing body weight stuff, stop at 40 minutes. Don't go on.
Yeah. Yep. What are some signs that anxiety could be triggered by physical issues?
Yeah, so that's a big thing that I talk about is there are kind of those sides to anxiety. There's the mental half where like we're all familiar with this, like you're stressed around certain triggers, your brain like kind of goes into overdrive because you're anxious. There's a physical side too. And if you are having some physical anxiety, some signs of that could be that you're extremely tired all day, but then when you go to bed at night, you feel wired, like you can't get to bed, or you're waking up in the middle of the night, again, feeling wide awake, or even maybe your heart's racing in the middle of the night. That was happening to me. If you're waking up in the morning with bruises on your arms and legs and you're like, did I fight myself in my dream? Like, what happened? That's a sign that there may be some cortisol imbalance, and your workout can be a big cause of that. So that's a weird one that I realized recently that I experienced heavily, because every morning I'd like call my mom and be like, yeah, I got more bruises. Like, what's going on? What am I doing when I sleep? But if you're bruising easily, that's a sign of cortisol imbalance. So that's one you could pay attention to. It's kind of weird. If you're noticing your heart racing randomly throughout the day, I mentioned this is something I experienced, but if you're like in a Zoom call or, you know, on the phone with your best friend and your heart just starts to race, that could be a sign of imbalance happening in your body as well. And then with your workouts specifically, if you end your workouts and you feel tired, like you feel all of your energy is zapped from you, that means don't do that workout. It's not going to benefit your hormones and your weight loss journey. You should feel energized after your workout. And that's a conversation I always have with my clients when I'm meeting with them one-on-one, or if I'm teaching a group class. At the start, I'm always like, how are we feeling? And almost everyone is like, kind of tired. It's been a long day. Like, I meet with people in the evenings. They're always saying that because days are tiring. And then after the workout, I say, how do you feel? And then they always say energized. And I'm like, that's all I want. If you feel energized now, that means we did the right thing. So that's a big thing if you're working out and you're like, I'm never motivated to work out and I'm always tired after I work out and it stresses me out. Like, that means your workout routine is not right for you right now. It doesn't mean it'll never work again. It just means right now your body needs something else. Yeah.
So how do you specifically help clients with like the chronic stress or the anxiety through fitness?
Yeah, so it's kind of, I tackle it two different ways. Like when I first started training, it was all just like, we're working out together and then we won't speak, like kind of thing. But now I really have, that's the traditional personal training is where it's just like, working out together, then bye-bye. And that's definitely what I did. But now I have my hand in like all of the lifestyle choices that my clients are making. So it's kind of twofold, where one, I'm helping my clients tweak their habits. So it's tweaking day-to-day things that they're doing. I'm usually really encouraging them to fix their posture, to do some deep breathing, to get fresh air, to drink water, those types of things. So I'm helping them adjust their lifestyle. And the way I personally do that is with baby steps. Like, I am not the trainer who like gives you 1,000 things to do day one. I'm like, we're going to do one tiny thing day one, and then we're just off of that. So we're tweaking habits, and that's usually where we start is let's just adjust your lifestyle a bit. And then we introduce the workouts, and I program my workouts specifically so that they are low impact. They're not overly spiking your nervous system. They are no longer than 30 minutes. So I am strategic with my workout programming to make sure they are good for people who have hormonal imbalances or anxiety. Like, that's specifically who I design the workouts for, but they're good for anyone. But that's who I design them for. And then with all of my one-on-one clients, I then just help them make a workout schedule that they can follow that, again, starts very simple and builds to probably what they want it to look like. So a lot of people come to me and they say, yeah, I want to start working out like 4 days a week. Like, is an hour what I should be doing? And I'm like, well, first of all, no, don't do an hour. Second of all, we're not going to start with 4 days. I'll probably just have them do one workout a week. That's like 20 minutes. And then we'll build on that. And then we're adding those style changes in the mix. And then we take a very gentle approach to starting a lifestyle change or a workout routine so that it can have a positive impact on the hormones and on the stress and all the stuff.
Yeah. Can you touch a little bit on you were saying that you train your clients at night. So in my brain, from a medical standpoint, like you exercise at night, it can increase, obviously they feel energized, probably raise cortisol a little bit just because of the workout, and it's, probably a couple hours before bed. So I can't work out at night. It's one of those things where if it's not going to happen in the morning, it's not going to happen. So I was under the impression, and I actually had a patient recently that I was like, stop your PM exercise, because I was looking at her Oura ring and her readings and her sleep was awful. I said, just try it. But she's also very, very stressed. So now I'm just curious, from your standpoint, is exercise at night okay for someone that's in chronic stress?
I would say it is okay, and I will say I work with people who work out at all different times of the day. So I do have those like 5 a.m. warriors. I just could never be that person. I personally like working out middle of the day. Like if I can work out at like between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., like I am so happy. But if you're working out in the evening, it's again just like the strategy of how you exercise. So this is where I would be very cautious about not doing those workouts that overly spike your heart rate or leave you gasping for air. So that's where you want to pay attention to your exercise choices. Yeah. You want to make sure if you're working out in the evening that you're doing workouts that you can fully breathe and talk through. So instead of a workout that leaves you like gasping for air and you can't speak at all, you want to be able to speak in full sentences during those PM workouts. And then something that I personally do at the end of all of my workouts, which I feel like this is great for a nighttime exerciser, is a Shavasana, which if you're familiar with yoga, it's simply lying on your back with your eyes closed and breathing. So at the end of every workout, I lie down, close my eyes for 1 to 3 minutes. Like I listen to a chill song. And that kind of activates your parasympathetic nervous system. Like as you're activating your sympathetic nervous system, which is kind of like go part of your nervous system, activated. And if you can just lie down, breathe, try to relax your body, you can then tap back into that rest and digest state of your nervous system. So that's a big thing, but it is what workouts you're choosing to do in the evening. So I do think nighttime exercise is fine and safe. It's just, what are you choosing to do? True. And if you notice like you're not able to sleep after your workout, then you may want to change what workout you're doing, or you may need to adjust your workout time. Everyone's unique. I know we already said this, but everyone's unique. So some people may have a stronger reaction to that, and some people may not have a reaction at all. Everyone's a little different. And then of course there's some of those people who are like, well, I'm just not gonna work out if I'm working out in the evening. So you have to find what works for you. But in my opinion, it is safe to work out in the evenings. You just need to be wise about what you're choosing to do.
Right. No, that's good advice. Can you, I know you told your own story, but can you tell a success story from someone that you've coached?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love obviously having my clients come to me and say, oh my gosh, I look so good, I've lost this weight. That's really exciting for them. But I get even more excited when someone can come to me and say like, I've improved their mental health. So I have worked with a client over the last year, and he came to me saying he's tried working with like 4 different trainers. He's tried like 10 different workout programs, and every single time he worked out, he would have a panic attack. Like he would have a panic attack in the middle of the workout. And he was frustrated by that because he wanted to lose weight, but he couldn't exercise. Yeah. It was causing him to get more stressed, and then stress eat more, and then gain more weight. And he was just kind of in a bad place. And with him, he was one example of someone who came to me and was like, well, let's start working out every day, right? Like I want to change my body. So let's like really do this. And I was like, I'm not going to let you go all in. You can go to one of those trainers that failed you before to do that. I'm going to make you do less. And like after 2 months, he was like, man, I'm not having panic attacks anymore. And he never had a panic attack during our workouts. And his anxiety got significantly better after 2 months. After 3 months, he had lost like 15 pounds. After 4 months, he had lost like 20 pounds. Like, he reached all of his goals that he could possibly have, but he didn't sacrifice his mental health, which is something he had done previously many times. So that is always so exciting to me when someone can say, mentally, I feel like a different person. And he said those words exactly to me, where he was like, before we met, I was in a bad place mentally, but now I just feel brand new. And that's so rewarding for me as a trainer. I'm like, I had the strategy, you put in the effort and followed my instructions, and now he's in such a place. It's awesome.
Oh, that's so great. Yay. Yeah. So if someone's listening and they are one that, goes to the gym and does the things that they read or, follows a workout program. So what are some simple changes that those people can make to their workout routine to reduce their anxiety?
Well, the first thing I would say is listen to your body, because our bodies are always telling us things. We just have to listen. So again, if you're finishing a workout and you're feeling really tired, don't do that workout again. If in the middle of the workout you just feel like really anxious and unhappy, don't do that workout again. Like, your body is telling you when it doesn't like what you're doing. You just have to then kind of accept that it's not going to work for you and you have to find a different way. And I do feel like that's a hard thing for people to accept, because a lot of fitness, and this is one of my biggest pet peeves, is it's all or nothing. It's very extreme. And it's, you see something and you're like, okay, yeah, I want to change. I'm saying, like, I need to do all this stuff. So I need to do all this stuff. And then if you realize you can't do some of that stuff, you feel like you failed. But it doesn't mean you failed. It just means you need to find a different way. So the approach that I would have for someone who, is researching online and is trying to just follow some of the trendy workout programs, and you feel like it's not working for you or it's leaving you feeling more anxious, first thing is I would just dial back your workouts. Do less. Try to do shorter workouts and more intentional workouts. Make sure you can breathe and talk through your workouts, and listen to your body. Those would be the first things I would say. And then if you feel totally lost, like, that's why coaches exist. Like, talk to someone who can give you a more personalized routine, because it's going to be difficult. It's possible to, like, piece together what to do by researching online, but you're going to get there faster and without those, like, trials and tribulations if you just ask for help. Because I know I'm definitely a strongly independent person, and if I have, like, a medical issue, I will just spend hours online researching and, like, trying to figure things out. And it's like, why wouldn't I just talk to a doctor or, like, a coach who is an expert in this thing? Like, I don't need to waste my own time. So if you do feel like you're kind of wasting your time and energy, then I would recommend you just speak to someone. And my business is all online, so if you want to speak to me, my door's always open.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's really good advice. And it's so important to listen to your body. Your symptoms, your symptoms are messages. And, I ask women, I had a patient this week who was doing a lot of high intensity workouts, as a early 30s, mid 30s. And then she stopped, and now she's doing some just more like Pilates type low intensity things. And I said, well, how do you feel? And she goes, well, I've noticed I'm not as tanked after my workouts as I would. And a lot of women think or relate that to, oh, that was a good workout. Oh, I'm exhausted. But wait, that's not actually a good thing. You should feel rejuvenated and alive, after a workout, and not like, oh my gosh, I got to take a nap. And that's not a good sign. That was a sign that pushed you too hard. It's too hard on your body. So
no, absolutely. I think it's kind of sad that, like, we do, like, everyone I speak to does think, oh, I need to be really tired and sweaty and winded after my workout. That doesn't count. And that's just not true. And the things that you see online, I do feel like it's important to say this, like, professional athletes, like bodybuilders, those people that you see killing themselves in their workouts, they also have off seasons. And, like, they're only sharing part of what they do. And this isn't a lifestyle they can live for the rest of their life. Like, athletes retire and then they have to change their workout routine. Like, unless you want to retire, which why would you want to retire from a healthy life? Then you want to just find something that's sustainable. And sustainable isn't, I feel dead after every single workout. And it's also, I hate when I see this online when people are like, oh yeah, does leg day even count if you can like sit down the next day? And I'm like, you should never be that sore. Like that is not the goal of exercise, to be so sore you can't move. You should be able to move your body every day. That's the goal of exercise.
Yeah. And a good example when you're talking about the athletes is right now with the Olympics. Look at all these Olympians doing this, you know, all day, every day training to prepare for this event. And you're right. They have off seasons and they have to probably do different. They're not going to be training to this intensity. And also too, what are your thoughts? This is totally random. What are your thoughts on women and exercising for their menstrual cycle? Because that's another big thing that I steer women towards. Like, don't work out even if you feel like you have to around your period, just because your body's at its lowest, your hormones are at their lowest, and you should really prioritize rest and recovery. And a lot of women don't understand that even if they're in like hormone imbalances or cortisol dysfunction, you know, that exercise, especially during their menstrual cycle, can really wreak more havoc than good.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a prime example of when you should be listening to your body. Because I've worked with so many women, and some really don't have like a strong cycle where they feel those energy slumps and where they feel really energized, and they can kind of do the same thing every single week. But then if you are feeling those energy slumps, and I feel like what's really valuable for everyone to do is keep a little vibe check journal. Like every night, write down like, here's how my energy is. Here's like how my body's feeling. And if you notice that there are patterns, like if you do that for a month and you're like, oh, right, there's a pattern of like this week, I felt pretty tired or I had a headache every day, then that's when you can be like, okay, that week I should be doing something different in my workouts probably. My body is obviously going through some sort of cycle and it's reacting to that. So I do think women need to be listening to their body and at least a little bit tracking their cycle so that they can understand what's happening in their body, or if anything even strong is happening in their body. Because some people may find, well, my body is not really changing that much week to week, because there are some women who are like that. Their hormones aren't crazy strong. But then there are the other extreme cases where it's like people feel it hard. So I definitely think it's valuable to tweak your workouts for your cycle if that's needed for you. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to track your cycle and to see what you actually need week to week.
Yeah. And that's, you know, that's all great information for your own health. And, you know, you have to experiment. Same thing like what we were talking about. It's like, well, that might not work for you. So try something different and see how you feel. You know, walking is so underrated, and it's probably the best thing that you can do for your adrenal glands. And people are like, well, I don't burn calories when I walk. I'm like, it's not about that.
No, it's absolutely not. And I think it's just also empowering for women to have this information. Like, when you're tracking your cycle, when you're paying attention to how your body feels, then like if something's going on, then you can go into a doctor. Like, I have the data. Like, I have already tracked everything, because it is like, this is a whole different conversation for another day, like women not being heard in doctors' offices. So if you can go in and be like, no, I know exactly what's going on with my body because I'm tracking it, like that's super empowering. So it's valuable to have that information so you can know how to tweak your lifestyle, but it's also amazing because then you can have proof of what your body's going through.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, Molly, this has been so fun. I love talking about movement, exercise, hormones, stress, anxiety, you name it. So this was such a good conversation. We'll wrap it up with one question I ask all my podcast guests. What would be your best or favorite health tip that you can share with the audience?
Yeah, so my favorite piece of advice is like a little phrase, work smarter, not harder. And I definitely live by that. Like, don't just try to do the most. Be strategic about what you're doing, and that can really play a part in everything you do, whether it's your workouts or your diet or your lifestyle choices. Don't try to do everything. Like, pick something because you've done the research, you've had the conversations, you know it's something that's actually valuable to you. So work smarter, not harder is what I would love everyone to live by, because I do feel like a lot of exercise and health is let's just try it all. Like, what's the harm of doing more is what a lot of people think. Like, why not just exercise a little bit more? Like, it's probably no big deal if I add this extra workout class into my week or doing XYZ, but it is actually harmful. It can be harmful to do too much or to try too many things. And I find a lot of people stress their bodies out more by like trying to do everything all at once. So if you can just be smarter about your choices and the changes that you're making to your life, that's better. So don't push yourself hard, just be smart about it.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Well, Molly has a free anxiety toolkit that will be available for all the listeners that will break down exactly how to transform your workout routine to improve your anxiety. So we'll make sure that we have that linked in the show notes. It's mollymcnamee.com/anxiety. If you're listening and don't have time to look at the show notes, but it'll all be there for you. So thank you, Molly, for being here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.